Hey guys, it's Jacob Mizgalski here. I am back for episode 2 of Our Home Wausau. We're here today at Midwest Communications to talk to the morning dude, Dave Kallaway. Let's go inside and see what he has to say. Good morning, Dave.
Hey.
How's it going?
Park it, big dog.
It's been a long time since I've been in here.
Well, hey, you knew the way.
I did know the way. You ready for your interview?
I think we can get this done. Come on now.
Start filming.
All right.
So, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm an Air Force brat, and so I grew up on an Air Force base, Ellsworth Air Force Base, out in South Dakota. And so I'm a South Dakota, Air Force brat is what they would call me. And so my dad was in the service for like 28 years, but all my school years were out there. And then with my wife, I had told her, I said, oh, well, I'll never move away. And the first thing I did is move away. So after a couple of years, it's like, no, let's get this together. Let's share this journey. Let's travel all over the planet. And so that's what we did. We got married actually on the radio. Yeah, this would be 82. And so when we got married, then, we were wondering, we both are Air Force kids. And so we've already been all over the planet, and the thing with radio is that you will move. And so we moved a lot, and we moved all over the place. We went to Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, and worked all over the place, and eventually got into Wisconsin. Well, Wisconsin, I made a mistake in that I didn't stay here. Is that I left and I went to Illinois for a little while, and I missed it so much that I interviewed all over the place and said, hey, it doesn't matter where I land. I told everybody I interviewed with, I'm coming back to Wisconsin, it doesn't matter. And the whole thing with WIFC worked out some 26 years ago, and they said, we need a morning guy, and I went, okay, here we go, let's play anchor. And came here, I sort of ran for mayor, so to speak, in radio terms, and just tried to get the gig, and it's kind of worked out in a big way.
In 26 years?
Yeah.
It's been 26 years you've been on the air.
I got here when the Packers were just about at that point where they were about ready to go to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Ron Wolf had taken over in the Packer organization, and how about we get this Reggie White, this Brett Favre guy, and see what we can do. And then off they go to New Orleans, and they win the Super Bowl. And so leading into that, it was good timing to get here, get settled, and get some audience, and then go. And so, because one of the first things they said is, would you be cool if you went to the Super Bowl and just broadcast there? Of course, twist my arm, sure. Right. And so I did, and then that was clarification for me that it's like, yeah, I may be in the right place. If we're going to do stuff like this, yay.
Wow, that's really awesome. And you've been with Midwest Communications ever since?
Ever since.
Ever since then.
Yeah.
So what got you into radio?
In high school, I learned it, what it was going to be the cool thing for me. And it all started with typing class, because when I was in high school, me and friends, we would be typing away in typing class, but they would allow us to listen to the radio. And so the radio, I would always try and emulate the DJ who was on the radio station, a station called KKLS. And so I always wanted to just try and emulate what that DJ sounded like. And I thought, well, I wonder if they'll let me work at that station or a college station somewhere. So I ended up going to a local college station, and I asked them, I said, hey, I know I'm only in high school, but is there any way I could get a radio show or some radio experience to get the ball rolling? And they said, sure, that's fine. They didn't care. And so I ended up going and doing a radio show and at that point I was a sophomore in high school. And so I started doing a little radio show on college radio and got the bug, and I thought, yeah, this sounds like fun. Let's keep doing this. And then I got to go work in commercial radio then after that.
It's exhilarating.
It was.
Every day is different, probably.
Oh, in a big way. Yeah. Why? Why have anything, be the same? It's not in radio. No.
No, not at all. Not at all. And things change on the fly because you're doing so much regarding the community and stuff going on. And,
Yeah, you got to pick your focus.
Adapt too.
Yeah, adapting to what the station needs, obviously. That's the thing that has radically changed, I think, in radio is your focus. Mm-hmm. Is that if you're sort of the big dog in the area, you can spread your wings and you can be more things to more people. But as competition comes in, then you have to narrow your focus like a laser beam. And I think that's what's happened now through the years, is that we're way more focused because there's a lot more competition. There's a lot more on the radio dial.
Right. So would you say, in terms of narrowing your focus, that's more like coming up with
Yeah.
so to speak, or
Yeah, big time. And you know, that's hard. It's hard to do because there's so many things that you want to do on radio.
how do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you do have to do that. I mean, you want to make sure that if you're, you know, it's a ham and eggs world, you know, that you're selling something else, you know.
Sure.
Everybody's selling hamburgers, you should sell chicken. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So Dave, talk about your most favorite interviews that you've ever done.
I love it all because I love the process. I think if you're going to do interviews, if you are into the process, it wouldn't matter if it was somebody off the street, you know, because that could go in a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
And then for famous people, it would be, I'm a foodie. And so whenever I get a chance to interview chefs, that I love it. And the one that's at the top of the heap for me would be Anthony Bourdain. I interviewed him. And I told him ahead of time, I said, I'm a complete geek fan of yours, so I'm going to try really hard to hold it together while we do this interview. And he was amazing. And I felt like all of a sudden it was a father figure in the food world to talk to, and he was cool with that. And so that was a great one. And then music, obviously loving music, playing music. Whenever we interview one of our artists that we play already is great, or legendary artists, you know, and there's a lot of them that have done radio. And I'm always amazed by that because I feel like, do you need radio? Do you need to be interviewed by a DJ in Wausau, Wisconsin? And a lot of them, they love it. They love the process as well, and that's why I think those work out.
Can you talk about the radio process? How does it work? How does an artist get on air and get played by radio?
Well, first, how it doesn't work is don't make the morning guy be the one who's in charge of the music. Otherwise, you know, for my show, it would be Earth, Wind, and Fire through the entire morning, and we're done. You know, so I don't need to do any other research. But it's a research-based thing, and it still is in a heavy way because you'll have program directors, music directors, and our company's got buckets of them, and they will all research the heck out of all the music that we play. And then once the music's played on the air, they keep researching it. Yeah, so there's opportunities for some of the up-and-comers, the shows like American Idol, you know, and The Voice and all those. Sometimes, and I mean it's very limited that they spawn nowadays an artist. It used to be Kelly Clarkson, who came from American Idol, Carrie Underwood, those are automatics. Daughtry came out of American Idol, and so they got a chance. But those opportunities are slimming down. Nowadays, in the last few years of American Idol and The Voice, they really haven't spawned anywhere near the amount of artists that got the automatic play. When we heard Kelly Clarkson for the first time, we went, absolutely, we're in. Because she's a dominant core artist for WIFC. And nowadays, no, it's not that way at all. So it's harder for them. But the way that they do get played is, I think that they go out and they try really hard to get radio's attention. And a lot of times that's from peer pressure off of the internet. They build their fan base and then they build their marketing base. And next thing you know, we're hearing about it.
You take notice.
You bet, you bet. You know, and examples would be, there's artists like Maroon 5. They're locked in. For a while now, they'll get the automatic vote. You know, their songs will come out and music stations that are going to play them anyway, they'll go, oh yeah, well, we'll add their song a lot. And we'll research it and make sure it's all that. But I have a feeling there's a shelf life there too. Because artists that we used to play on Top 40 don't get the automatic not anymore. Bon Jovi would be an example. Madonna would be an example. If they came out with music today, they wouldn't get the automatic not anymore to be played on radio.
There's so many older artists that were extremely popular, still are, and they release new music and people don't know about it.
You're right. You're right. And zip, see ya. Yep. They don't get a chance. We don't hear about them because now they've got to go through the same filter as Katy Perry does and anybody else. Doja Cat would be an example too. Dua Lipa, I would say the biggest Top 40 artist right now. She comes out with a song, boom, Top 40 is going to play it. But a lot of artists who are the up-and-comers who don't have that yet, especially local artists. We have in central Wisconsin really good artists.
Like I was surprised, like for instance, I know Mia Brown, like, and then she was on the radio, so possible.
Yeah,
possible.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the way she's getting on the radio is she's doing whatever avenue is presented to her, and one was our afternoon guy, Belky, doing a podcast with her directly, and then featuring her song. Sure. Okay, that's one avenue. Yeah, and so for IFC, that's how we've heard about it in the first place, and then giving her a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody needs that chance.
Yeah, fingers crossed for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you talk about the other events that you do and other things that you do besides radio? You do other things other than radio. Can you talk about those?
Yeah. I have a lot of interest.
Charity stuff.
Yeah, I always say it's funny because I saw, speaking of interviews, I saw an interview recently with Jim Carrey, and there was somebody that, was just kind of getting in his face and said, hey, why don't you just be funny? Because that's what he's known for.
Right.
And he laughed, and said, why limit myself? And so I'm the same way. When it comes to radio, I love doing radio. I love being on radio, being around radio people, but it seriously was not enough. And so photography, the reason why that worked out for me is because it was a need. First of all, it was a need. It was a passion that had to build from radio. We would go to events, and they would say, hey, take some pictures because we want to have some representation on our websites.
But then you're taking pictures for all the time, and it's like,
yeah.
well, maybe I should get compensated for this a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what it turned into.
Right.
So it was a need to start, for radio website stuff. And then after that, it turned into wow, I really like this. I'm going to go get my camera act together, lenses, and then be built for speed. And so I love going to events, going to concerts, and covering all that kind of stuff. And it's like a NASCAR pit stop. Is when a photographer goes to cover something, you've got to cover it quickly, and then you have to make sure whoever you're shooting pictures for, that you give them what they need, right this second.
Right.
Yeah, big time. And so I love all that.
Right away.
For photography. Yeah.
What are some of the events that you cover here in Central Wisconsin?
The best one out of the entire year for me is the balloon rally. The reason why the Wausau Balloon Rally is so big for me is because there are a lot of elements that I love that are there. And so part of it is doing radio. We broadcast from there. I do PA, public address announcing there. And then when the balloons go up, they do fireworks there. It's time for major amount of pictures.
Right.
So I'll shoot pictures when I'm not doing the radio. And so, wow, it covers lots of bases.
You're always going the entire time.
You bet. And love that. And so that's a prime example. But you're right, the calendar got cleared this year.
Very much so.
Yeah, and it's really a bummer because that's a huge part of what radio does is it goes out and it covers and it's at things. And so that's one of those things where we're really, we're kind of going, God, what's next? What's next? It seems like we can't cancel enough off the calendar. And I'm hoping 2021 that there is some kind of a magic switch where it goes, okay, time to get back to the events.
Yeah.
And those come back because I miss them so much.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do, but it's got to be done bigger and better.
Yeah. And it will.
So can you talk about what a typical day is like for you?
Typical day for me starts at about...
What does Dave Kallaway do?
Oh, yeah. Get conscious first.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do, right?
Okay.
So 3:30, alarms start going off. There are several.
Okay.
I have 5. So when I get done with the 5th one, then it's probably about 4 or so, and I'm raring to go. So I get up and I start thinking about how we're going to write out the show. And we write out show notes galore to make sure we know where we're going with the whole show. The morning of. And the reason why I used to write the show a day in advance, it never works, and it's because of the fluidity of the news. All kinds of things happen, where, candidates do certain things, the president does certain things, things happen locally in our news. And so it's better to write the show and then get at it. And then show starts at 5 a.m. And then Marky, my partner, Marky Scott, joins me at 6. And we're in here rocking out until 10 a.m. And then we start putting the next day's show together, and commercials and that sort of thing. DJs, they will do a lot of commercial stuff where they're voicing things. And then after that, it's time to nap out. Yeah, normally the best sleep for me is not overnight.
Okay.
It's in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll get a good solid nap in. And then my wife and I, we're night owls. And it's hard to ever get to bed before midnight. We don't go to bed till like midnight, 12:30. Really quick nap then overnight.
Well, basically that's a nap.
That's a nap.
Till 3.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. And that's how we, so I always, I just tell people I'll sleep when I'm dead. Yeah, because right now it's not convenient. Right. You never get enough really.
Yeah.
So I never worry about it. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and it's something.
So what is your plan for the next 5 years?
It's to keep working on the shift. The shift in my life, when I got here, it was all radio. 100% was, hey, do a good radio show. And then, they would always say, go run for mayor. And what they meant by that was just go get known. Yeah, get your name out all over the place. That's what they meant, not politically at all, but that's what I tried to do. So what happened then along the way was hey, can you put more on the web? Can you put more on the web? And so blogs and podcasts are the vehicle now that they want you to have that as part of the package. Is you've got to be on there like crazy. And so it's split now, I'd say 50-50. And I see that changing even more, where there'll be more and more content demands on radio announcers to do more and more online. So in the next 5 years, I see that exploding, where I may have 1, 2, 3 more podcasts maybe, that are targeted for certain things. Just as we're targeted on the radio, I think the podcasts will be targeted.
What podcasts do you have right now?
For podcasts, it's mostly what we do on the radio. We share a little bit of that, like we had an interview here the other day where we were talking to Robert Irvine from the Food Network, who does Restaurant Impossible. We had a lot to discuss because restaurants, all of them are going through Restaurant Impossible right now, with the pandemic. So he had a lot to say, we had a lot to cover, and that turns into a podcast once we're done with it on the radio. Swing, goes right over to the web, and then we push the heck out of going to cover those, because you get a little bit of it on the radio. You'll get all of it on the web. Yeah.
Unedited version too.
Big time.
So can you talk about, for somebody who wants to get into radio, what do they need to prep for? What do they need?
The answer used to be...
What you need to be good at.
Yeah, right. The answer used to be go to radio school, because there was radio school. There's not anymore. No. And so we don't point them in that direction anymore. But I say immediately, if I'm talking to school age kids who are thinking about it, there's definitely some things you need to get really good at. Is you need to know your way in and out of computers. You got to be a great typer. You're going to type all day. I mean, all day and all night. I do. Yeah, if I'm not on my phone, I'm on my iPad or something like that, typing constantly. Typing helped me big time in high school. The other thing was the ability to do more than one thing. Where you, I don't want to mess up my microphone, but where you rub your tummy and you pat your head. That is a radio thing, because when we're on the radio, a lot of times I'm like this because I'm controlling things while I'm talking. So that's why you need to get really good at doing more than one thing. Yeah, so that's something I always tell people, is that get used to the idea of you talking and doing something technically as well. Because once you start doing a radio show, it'll all come together. You'll work on your ability to talk, but you'll also need to work on that while you're controlling your volumes, all that kind of stuff. And then music knowledge. For me, the other thing that helped out in school early on was getting into band, getting into music. That's why music programs are so critical, is because it will launch you into the rest of your life if you get in radio. And we could go on and on about that, because that is such a huge aspect of knowing the music, understanding the music, what works together, on the radio, so that you've got ebb and flow. And, you learn that all through band class, and then you learn your personal ability to have opinions, have an attitude, play a character if you need to, by being in, drama and theater classes. So those are all things, and a lot of people are surprised by that. They think you just need to go jump on the radio and, hey, here we go, but
Hardly.
Yeah, right. There's a lot to it, and
It is a show.
It is, and you have to take all the elements that you can learn from a lot of different things from school, and then see if you can turn it into being a personality. There's radio announcers, and there's news people, and then there's personalities. The people who they need to find a way to shine, and get so somebody goes, yep, I love that person because they're my friend. I look forward to them being funny. I need somebody to be funny in the morning. All those things. So,
absolutely.
No pressure.
No pressure. And to take off the pressure, do you ever take a vacation?
Yeah, I do, and I encourage people to do that in a huge way in radio. There's a lot of people who never go on vacation. I say, guess what you're not doing? You're not recharging. So you can't give yourself completely, to your audience, because, man, you're burnt. And I can tell when somebody's fried and they need to go. Yeah, and so I respect that and make sure that I get the heck off the radio and vacation out for a little bit. And then I can come back and let her rip for, again, a period of time. Because a lot of times in radio, there's not long vacations. There's ones where I'll take one in January, or not in January, but in July. Take another one around the holidays. That's kind of it. You know, that's all I need. You know, but yeah, I encourage people to get the heck out of here so that you can bring something back to the party.
I like that. Get out of here so you can bring something back.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Ta-da.
I think that's a perfect way to end it. Get out of here so you can bring something back.
See, there you go. Good mantra.
Yeah. There you go. I don't know. I think those are good questions.
Yeah. That'll work.
I got them all down.
And you didn't ask any math questions. I was so happy about that.
Oh,
thank you.
I'm happy I did not either.
If you can get through an interview where there's no calculus, happy days.
I hate it when they do that. Hate it. Hate it. But up, Dave, thank you so much for talking with me. It's been a pleasure. I learned a lot. We laughed. And I think a lot of other people learned some things too. Okay. The man behind the mic.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.